Let's level up your cooking skill.
It's a cookbook! A cookbook!
King's Honor, friends, let's take another look at the World of Warcraft official cookbook's recipes that provide you with a feast fit for a war chief. Today's recipe is sweet potato bread. Moist, dense, and richly flavored with an array of spices, this popular Northern bread would be tasty on its own, but topped with caramel and crunchy nuts, it's absolutely decadent. If any bread looks like it'd give me the well-fed buff, it's this one. Let's cook. Let's start with the main ingredient. Preheat the oven to 400 degrees, and the recipe calls for 1 pound of sweet potatoes, which is about 2 medium-sized ones like these. So we're going to pierce these several times with a sharp knife. Then put those directly on the oven rack, and those will bake till they're soft about an hour. While those are cooking, let's get our other ingredients ready to go, including mixing up some holiday spices. You know, those spices you buy every Feast of Wintervale to make cookies for Great Father Winter? The cookbook has a recipe for that spice blend as well, right here. We only need 1 teaspoon for the recipe, but to make a 1/4 cup, possibly for use in other recipes, you need 1 tablespoon of ground ginger, a tablespoon of ground cinnamon, a tablespoon of ground nutmeg, half a tablespoon of ground cloves, and interestingly enough, a 1/4 tablespoon of ground black pepper. It's been an hour and looks like our sweet potatoes are nice and soft on the inside, so let's take those out and let them cool a bit. At this point, we're going to turn the oven down to 325 degrees and then butter a 9x5 inch loaf pan. When the sweet potatoes are cool enough to handle, we're going to slice those open and scoop them out of their skins into a medium bowl. Then we're going to add a 1/4 cup of whole milk and mash up the potatoes until there are no large pieces left. Looks good enough to me. Then we're going to add a cup of dark brown sugar, 2 large eggs, half a cup of canola oil, teaspoon of vanilla, and 1 teaspoon of our holiday spices. Beat all that together with a fork or whisk until combined, and then we're going to add our dry ingredients, which are half a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of baking powder, and half a teaspoon of baking soda, and a 1.5 cups of flour. Stir that well to combine, and look at that, looks like a really good batter to me. Let's pour that into our buttered loaf pan and bake for about an hour. I like to check about 5 or 10 minutes early with the clean toothpick test just in case. That looks like a delicious loaf of bread. But we're not done yet. This thing's hotter than Alex Strauss on a molten core raid, so we gotta let it cool for a good hour. While we're waiting on that, let's make a caramel sauce to go on top. Into a small saucepan over medium-high heat goes 1/2 cup of packed light brown sugar, a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, a tablespoon of salted butter, and a 1/4 cup of warmed heavy cream. Let's whisk that together and bring to a boil. Then we're going to reduce the heat and simmer it for about 5 minutes, whisking pretty frequently the whole time. Then we're going to whisk in a dash of vanilla and take it off the heat. The recipe says next to stir in the butter, but it doesn't say how the 2 tablespoons in the ingredients list are divided. So I guess a tablespoon at the beginning and a tablespoon now. Let the caramel cool for a few minutes so it thickens a bit and doesn't run off the bread. Now it's time for me to drizzle this sauce over the bread while whistling the Chrono Trigger theme for some reason. And then we sprinkle a 1/4 cup of roughly chopped pecans or walnuts on top. I like both, so I'm adding a mixture of the two. And there, my friends, is World of Warcraft's sweet potato bread. Not too far off from the picture. But how does it taste? The book says this pairs well with chai tea and apple butter. So once everything's ready, it's time to dig in. Let's try out this bread. I've been wanting to try this recipe for quite some time. Let's take a look at the cross-section side. Ooh, that looks really good. Check it out. Beautiful in there. We'll see how it tastes first, but there are quite a few little spots of the sweet potato in there. Maybe that's a good thing. I guess we'll find out. I wonder if I should have put those sweet potatoes through my ricer instead of just mashing with a fork, but let's give it a try. Oh, man. Oh, man, folks, that is one of the best sweetbreads I've ever had in my life. It's got that like pumpkin-y flavor from the sweet potatoes. It tastes very similar to pumpkin bread actually, but different in a good way. I don't really notice the textural things, so I kind of like the way it looks. Maybe that's a good thing to smash it with a fork instead of making it perfectly pureed. This caramel sauce is the bomb. It's a little bit salty. It's nice and thick. It's like a thick caramel frosting on top of it. And I don't really get the holiday spices as much. I like my food spiced, especially holiday foods, and so I think if I make this again, I'm gonna do 2 teaspoons of holiday spices. Oh, that caramel is such a good accompaniment to this. You know, I've had pumpkin bread with cream cheese frosting, but this is a completely different feeling. It just fits. It's so good. Anyway, yeah, I don't think I can taste the holiday spices as much as I'd like to. They're there, but if you make this, do 2 teaspoons of holiday spices at least. That makes a good accompaniment. This would be really comforting on like a holiday, like a snowy holiday night with a warm drink alongside it. Let's try with some apple butter. Oh, it's so many complementary flavors, and they just work so well together. Got the comforting warm bread, and then this apple butter is the fruitiness adds a really nice hint, and then of course the salty, rich caramel at the top. I think I got too thick of a piece. I'm starting to get a little sugar overload here, so you know, maybe cut thin slices when you have this, but it is delicious. It is absolutely delicious. I want to make this like next Christmas or something for my family because it just works. Every aspect of it is so good. The chefs that made this cookbook know what they're talking about. This would keep you warm on a cold Northrend night. One of the best sweetbreads, bar none, that I've ever had. Oh yeah. Cheers. Thanks for watching.